Marriages are falling apart over politics, women are filing for divorce, men are getting blindsided, and families are splitting right down the middle. Today we're watching it all unfold in real time. Welcome back to Mind Mirror. Let's get into it.
So ever since Trump got elected, my rights have been taken away from me, and it just keeps going. And I think I'm going to divorce my husband because he keeps taking my rights away from me.
I just said you couldn't have any more chickens.
Same thing.
What are you talking
Same thing.
You know what's so funny to me is all the straight men that are going to be complaining, my wife's divorcing me because I voted for Donald Trump. What am I going to do? Well, they'll fuck around and find out I was here. And from what it looks like, is all the other men who voted like you will probably make a community. You guys will probably all question your sexuality. And you guys will all wind up being with each other. Wild, right? Because you know that women are the most powerful thing on this planet. Especially what they have to offer that you guys can't do for yourselves. So by voting against that, you're now going to have to fight over another man to see who's going to be who. This is wild. It's hilarious.
Bro is out here doing a full comedy special on these dudes, and I can't even be mad. His whole point is basically you voted against what women wanted, and now women don't want you. Congratulations, you played yourself. But here's the thing that nobody's talking about. If your wife tells you, hey, this thing matters to me, and your response is, I don't care, you just showed her exactly where she falls on your priority list. That's not politics anymore. That's just a bad partner.
So, and not just that, but now you guys no longer have to claim to be DL. You guys no longer have to hide it and be like, oh no, no homo. You're with your community now, so go have fun.
Fuck around and find out. Grandmas are not calling their grandchildren. People are not getting their Christmas bonuses. People are getting divorced. Hold on.
So it's official. My wife is divorcing me. She said she couldn't be with a Trump supporter. So I'm gonna have it till the end of the day to get my shit out of the house, get all my things. She's changing the lock, she doesn't want it back. She said she's taking the kids away from me. Yeah.
I absolutely love this for him, but I'm going to close it out with this clip right here. Hold on.
Divorces are up, and they are up over politics. Here is just one example. I'm starting divorce procedures with my husband after I found out he voted for Donald Trump. It's not the only reason. We've already had problems like him forcing me to go to church or having me quit my job and become a housewife because he got promoted for a good job. I couldn't find a job where we moved, so I settled in doing housework. I cook, I clean, I'm good at it, but the Trump vote was the last straw, and his lack of remorse. We had a conversation. I told him how...
So she quit her job, moved for him, became a full housewife, gave up her entire independence, and the one time she asks him to hear her out on something that matters to her deeply, he tells her she should be grateful. Fellas, if you want a woman to sacrifice everything for you, you don't get to dismiss her feelings when it's inconvenient for you. That's not leadership, that's entitlement. She didn't just wake up one day and decide to leave. This was a long time coming, and he just refused to see it. You want a traditional setup? Then be a man she actually wants to stay with. That means listening, especially when you disagree.
Heard I was how he knew how much I hated Trump, the trauma that man has put me through, but he did not care. I should be grateful because of the job benefits he'll have for his line of work. I'm not going to do this anymore. We have no prenup. I'm going to fight for my rights. We've been married 8 years. I've sacrificed so much. Not anymore. I'm going to take everything I'm owed. The political divide is as big as I've ever seen it, and I've been a divorce lawyer for 20 years, so people have been coming in and talking about their political differences as one of the conflicts that exist in their house for a long time, but it is now at an all-time high. The ideological divide in this country has just gotten wider and wider and wider, and many of us were hopeful that after the election, there would be some relief, but it seems to have only exacerbated the divide. Have you all seen this in your friend group? Are you watching this happen near you as well?
You know, I thought it would be easier the more I talked about leaving MAGA, being a 3-time Trump voter. But I have to be completely honest with you that it's not getting easier, and it actually feels like it's getting more difficult because I'm gaining more empathy. And I don't think people really realize how counterintuitive the hate that I receive when you can take one look at my page and see that I am doing the work. I read a comment this morning that I'm not stitching because I don't want hate to come our way, but you'll understand why I'm reading it. I've been deconstructing from Christianity and left MAGA. I do not speak about it because the hate you receive from the left is no different from the hate you received.
This part genuinely hurts to watch. Someone sent her a message saying the hate from the left is no different from the hate inside the cult they just left. And if that doesn't make you pause for a second, I don't know what will. Imagine rewiring your entire belief system, everything your family taught you, everything your church drilled into you since birth, and the people who were supposedly rooting for you to wake up just spit in your face when you finally do. That's not accountability, that's cruelty. And for the guys watching who are maybe questioning things themselves but staying quiet because you're afraid of the backlash, I see you. Growth is supposed to be messy. Nobody gets it right on the first try.
When you were in the cult, I'm just minding my own business and rewiring my whole belief system. What people don't understand is how hard it is to actually wake up and realize your entire life has been a lie, and now you have to start over from scratch. I'm not going to allow any negativity from anyone into my life. It's hard enough to do this. I can't see. I had to stop and gather myself. Not only that, I'm not going to be a part of any political party or religion ever again, so the expectation of the left thinking we have to vote blue now in order to make amends or something is not something I want to be a part of. The amount of "I'll never forgive you" I see in your last video is enough for me to never try to speak up on anything that's happened to get me here. My entire family is deep Southern conservative Christian Republicans. It's been buried into my whole system since birth. Seeing my truth and removing myself from it has been the hardest thing I've ever done.
She's literally crying and trying to hold it together on camera. And what she said is so simple but so heavy. My entire family is deep Southern conservative, Christian Republican. It's been buried in my whole system since birth. That's not just an opinion she's unlearning, that's her identity. Most people never do this. Most people just stay comfortable and never question anything. So when someone actually does have the courage to rip it all apart and start over, the least you can do is not make it harder for them.
I don't really know what else to say other than, I don't think that this is what the left wants. You've been shouting for people to wake up for years, and people do. And you just want to harp on, and I get it, that it didn't happen soon enough. And I don't believe that. I can't believe that. I have too much hope in my soul to roll over and die. I don't know what the solution is, but I know it's not to beat people while they're already down.
I could not see myself ending up with somebody that was such a Republican. I couldn't do it.
Okay, so you guys disagreed about politics?
Yeah, among other things, like religion and like how to raise kids and a couple other things, but...
Sounds like you guys were completely incompatible. How long are you guys together?
Okay, so we knew each other for 12 years almost, and then we were friends for 8 of those years, and then last year we decided to give it a try. And we thought we could work.
1 year.
Yeah, we thought we could give it an honest effort and
an honest effort through being completely incompatible and not agreeing on any kind of. What was the kicker?
I told him I couldn't do it anymore, and I didn't know if I could handle it anymore, but I made him kind of put the final nail in the coffin, if you will, and do the final breakup.
You made him?
Yeah. because I wanted to keep trying. I wanted an option for compromise, and I wanted an option to build a life together and all that. And he was like, yeah, I think we're just better as friends. We're too different. It's over. So now when we share a house and utilities, and
You guys are still renting together and everything.
Here's what gets me about this one. They were friends for 8 years before dating. Knew each other for 12. Thought love could bridge the gap, and it couldn't. And now she's scrambling to find a new apartment that costs more, splitting utilities starting completely over. This is the part nobody shows you about breakups. The logistics. It's not just heartbreak. It's your rent going up 50% overnight. So here's the free game. Before you move in with anyone, have the hard conversations first. Politics, religion, kids, money, all of it. Because finding out you're incompatible after you've signed a lease together is an expensive lesson.
Yes. Well, yes.
How have your finances been impacted in terms of this?
Well, now I have to find a new apartment that's going to cost more than my half of the rent, and I have to start paying all the utilities.
It hurts me so much because of the personal relationship I now have, where my husband is out there fighting this man. And to me, them voting for Trump is them not voting for my husband and me and our family. And I unfortunately have kind of lost relationships with people in my family because of it. Mm-hmm. This is not just Republican versus Democrat for me anymore. Mm-hmm. It is, to me, it's family values. And it's really hard for me because I grew up believing in these Christian ideals of taking care of the sick and taking care of the poor. And I don't see that happening.
She said something that I think a lot of people feel but don't say out loud. She grew up believing in taking care of the sick, taking care of the poor. And she's watching the people who taught her that. Abandon it completely. That disconnect will eat you alive if you let it. And for the men in these situations, when your wife says, I don't recognize these values anymore, she's not attacking you. She's grieving. She's mourning something she believed in her whole life. And the worst thing you can do is make her feel crazy for noticing.
With this Republican Party.
So MAGA wants to end no-fault divorce, just like they said they would in Project 2025. And they're doing that by taking away these social programs that make it easier for women to leave violent or just unhappy marriages. So first they keep telling women that they should stay home and stay out of the workforce because that's better for the children. But then they try to take away all the programs that would allow women to leave these marriages. My mother told me that over 50 years ago, when she was getting a divorce from a man who was violent, who hit her and hit her while she was pregnant, the judge asked her how much money she made a month. And she was a waitress, and she could support herself and her children, but as a waitress, your income can go up and down. Her lawyer told her she had to lie to the judge because the judge told her if she could not prove that she could consistently take care of her and her children, he would not grant her the...
Yo, this story stopped me cold. A woman getting beaten while pregnant goes to a judge for a divorce. And the judge says if you can't prove you won't need food stamps, you have to stay with the man who hits you. Read that again. The system chose saving money over saving her life. And her daughter is on camera right now telling us this is what certain people want to bring back. Now, I know some guys hear about no-fault divorce and think it's just a weapon women use, but it exists because of women like her mother who had no other way out. If you're in a good marriage, this literally doesn't affect you. So why fight against a safety net for people in danger?
Divorce because he did not want her to go on food stamps. He said she would have to remain in a violent marriage rather than allow her access to a social program that would benefit her and her children. And that is what MAGA wants us to go back to. That's what a lot of women today don't understand. They need to hear those stories because they happened, and they happen often. So when they talk about traditional families and family values, back when your mother stayed home, they're talking about trapping women in violent marriages, and that should never happen.
U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro here. MAGAs, I want to talk to you. So many of you have expressed to me that you feel sad and lost and confused now that President Trump and Elon Musk have fallen out the way they have, and you feel like the kid in Kramer versus Kramer. Well, Mommy here understands. When I got divorced from my ex-husband, Albert Pirro, I had to have some tough conversations with my kids. Sorry, honey, Daddy's going to the slammer, and yes, Mommy did get in a lot of trouble for trying to illegally wiretap our summer boat to catch him banging his girlfriend on it. You do have a sibling you never knew about, but don't blame yourselves. With Donald and Elon, it wasn't another woman unless you count Katie Miller. It wasn't really money. I guess you could say they just grew apart. But don't worry, take heart. I know President Trump. He's going to go on Match.com and he's going to find you another racist, white supremacist daddy who will buy the next big social media platform and flood it with Nazis just to make you happy.
But Miss Ma'am don't want to be FLOTUS. She says she's out. She's done. This is not what she signed up for. Now, again, this is all what was being overheard. I doubt that they were actually fighting about that in the restaurant, but some of it probably spilled out, little snippets here and there, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm here for it. Anyway, so apparently she's all like, this is not what I signed up for. People hate us. Don't nobody want to be around us. We can't go nowhere in peace. These kids getting on my nerves. You getting on my nerves. I just threw that last piece in because I just know that was part of the conversation, y'all. So, anywho, I'm not here to cheer on anybody's divorce demise. I'm not. Like, I cheered for...
I actually respect how she handled this. She's clearly entertained by the drama. She admitted that. But she also said, I'm not here to cheer on anyone's divorce. And then she said the most honest thing. It gives me some joy down in my soul that they're miserable. Because we all miserable. That's just real. That's human nature. Sometimes when you've been struggling and the people who cause that struggle start struggling too. Yeah, there's a little satisfaction there, and pretending otherwise is just lying. The key is not letting that become your whole personality.
Mine, but I'm not here because, you know, maybe she want to stay in her marriage. You know, maybe. I don't know. And if that's what she want, I want that for her. But if she want out, girl, oh me, because I got a real good divorce for you. Anywho, so yes, this is a what they say. This is a continuing developing story, and I will be keeping track of this. But apparently, it's getting bad that they are now actually bickering in public. So don't nobody come for me in the comments talking about I'm glorifying their divorce and I'm happy about it and all of that. I ain't here for that. I don't like the people. So yes, it gives me some joy down in my soul that they're miserable because hell, we all miserable. Okay, that's it. Goodbye.
I'm Tyler, by the way. I had a question. My girlfriend and I have differing political beliefs. So how should we handle our relationship when we have a lot of the same values but differing political beliefs?
Do not marry this girl. Do not marry someone that you cannot talk about the daily news with. You guys can laugh at it. Do not build a life with somebody where you cannot agree on what daily news channel to watch.
I think a lot of her life has been influenced by having two liberal parents, and then now she's in school.
Do not marry this girl. Like, you do not want liberal in-laws. Like, you do not want this. I'm telling you, run away, find somebody else. In-laws are very important. I'm telling you right now, as someone who's married with 2 kids, in-laws become embedded. You almost inherit them as pseudo-parents. Does she have a good relationship with her dad?
Yeah.
She'll side with him over you. Every time.
Yeah. And
she will leak to her parents against you if all of a sudden she feels as if the politics is going under the marriage. Because it's unfair for her to choose, like, you know, which one or the other one. You might think like I'm generalizing. This comes from over 10 years of seeing and doing this, that political agreement is a necessary foundational element when you want to try to build a family.
I'm a former conservative Christian trad wife in recovery, and there is so much more that goes into this that you have no idea. It's not just an alt-right dog whistle. It goes so much deeper than that. One of the things that you might not know about this content is that there's a lot of trad wives online that are married to somebody who has a kid from a prior marriage. And let me give you the general portrait. Pretend I'm one of those criminal profilers like I'm in Dexter. I'm gonna give you the profile of an average trad wife creator who's the stepmom or step-girlfriend. A lot of times she comes from a toxic family system. She's a boy mom. She has a son from a prior marriage a lot of times. She has one of the biggest signs of childhood trauma, which is chasing a man that will never love her or give her the love she deserves, just like one of her parents or both. There's a good reason baby mama ain't with him anymore, and she finds out as the years pass. Sometimes she'll make content basically highlighting what a good wife she is and what a good stepmom. And a lot or most of the time, this man that she's with has children that he doesn't have much or any access to. Man's is MAGA, and he's mad at the world. She will come on here saying what a great everything he is, when really at home he uses her for an emotional punching bag. Somewhere deep in her subconscious, she believes if she makes content talking about how he deserves access to his kids and all this other stuff and glorifies their relationship, or cry for help online, that he will love her more and treat her better. She probably only gets a year to maybe 3 years into making this type of content about father's rights and kids' rights. A lot of times where her mans ain't even paying child support. And a lot of times, well, her man has active bench warrants every single year for non-payment of child support. That wasn't my situation. This is just a profile. Okay. Eventually, her videos get thirstier because it's a cry for help. She realizes that she's not hideous, she's a cute girl, and her videos get thirstier because she doesn't get any attention at home from this grumpy MAGA man. And as she finds a community, eventually through making content or just flat out having enough of his behavior and how he treats her, they end up divorced. And she ends up a feminist. This is just what I've seen over and over and over again, not necessarily my situation. So I'm gonna ask you for a favor.
This is the one that ties the whole video together. She broke down the entire pipeline. Woman comes from a rough background, meets a guy who's angry at the world. She makes content trying to convince herself and everyone else that it's a great relationship. Meanwhile, at home, she's being used as an emotional punching bag. And eventually, she either wakes up and leaves, or she stays and loses herself completely. The part that hit me hardest was when she talked about the men who still follow her after she changed. They don't argue, they don't attack, they just quietly show up and support. She said only one of them ever comments, and all he says is, "I hate being a man. I'm so sorry." That is what strength looks like. Not control, not dominance, not winning arguments, just being secure enough to let someone have their experience without making it about you.
If you see one of these women online and you hate their content so much, just scroll, okay? Maybe say something kind. Don't call them names. Do not call them a pick-me, because chances are they're going through it at home. It's a situation I don't wish on anybody, and the world can always use more kindness. I used to be one of those women on here, and there's a lot of men that still follow me because of that, and a lot of new ones. And you want to know the ones that still stick around and watch my content, even though I talk about my bad experiences with men and my opinions and things that I've been through? The ones that still like my videos, even when I'm dogging men. They don't say a word. They just support me quietly. And I thank you guys for that. Only one of you that ever say anything is Kevin, and all Kevin usually says is, "I hate being a man." I'm so sorry. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin's my bestie. Y'all are my besties.
That was heavy. Every single woman in this video is dealing with the same core issue. What happens when you outgrow someone who refuses to grow with you? Whether it's a marriage, a belief system, or an entire identity, it all comes down to the same question. Can you evolve together, or are you going to break apart? So tell me in the comments. Have you ever had a relationship fall apart because you and your partner were growing in completely different directions? Drop your story below. I want to hear it. Like, share, subscribe.